Hey everybody, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Leah. Today I want to see how fast it actually takes me to make a quilt just like this. I made this quilt in December for my Island Batik Ambassador Challenge. We were able to choose anything we wanted that month, but that was a busy month and I kept running out of time. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to make. I needed to make something that I could do really quick. So I decided to do a strip and flip quilt, which is this one, and it came together really fast. But I didn't time it, so I want to see how fast I can actually do it. So this quilt only used half a strip set, so I have another half left, and I'm going to make another one just like it, and I'm going to time myself and see how long it actually takes me from start to finish. So this is all I'll need to make this quilt top. Half of a strip set that has 20 strips, some sashing, and then an outer border. Island Batik sent me all of this here. This I had in my own personal stash, and it blended really well with this one. I didn't have any yardage from this strip set. It's called Daisy May. This one goes together perfect, so that's what I used. So I'm going to cut this up and we'll start the timer. I need 11 strips of this for my sashing. 2-inch strips. 11. I cut this one 2.5. Did I cut them all 2.5? Okay, so I cut them all wrong. So used to cutting 2.5 strips. I need 11 at 2 inches. I already have one. Here's one. These for something else later. Glad I had enough of this fabric. Now I need 5-inch strips for my border. My ruler's 5 inches. I'm just gonna cut away. Oh, I only need 5. Top, bottom, side, side. So I only need 5. Each side will take 1.5 strip to get my border. Now I need to put these in an order that I like. I may just copy the same order I used last time. And this may take longer for you if you're doing it for the first time. You can just follow the layout that was in the pre-cut. Looks like I got an extra orange instead of a blue. It's not gonna look exactly the same. So I gotta figure out where to squish in one. Maybe right here. So here is my layout. I'm gonna take these to the sewing machine and I'm gonna sew together in pairs, and then in pairs, and then pairs, and then pairs until I get one big piece. So let's go do that. Okay, here's my top. It's 20 strips, so it would be like 40 by 44 if you just wanted to do something like this. But I'm going to trim it into pieces. I'm going to line up the seams because I'm going to cut 2 at a time. Just fold it up every now and then and double check to make sure they're lined up. Smooth it out. The size I came up with for my big strips was 8 inches because I have an 8.5-inch ruler. And I just thought that would be perfect. So I'm going to slide this down a little and make sure I have all the seams lined up again. And I'm going to line these lines up with the seams a little. Every now and then I'll just pick one. I'm going to cut off this bottom edge here. And I'm going to do this at the same time. Just slide everything down. My ruler back on. Line up some of these lines. In a perfect world, it would line up every 2 inches. All right, and I got enough across the bottom, so we'll just cut it. The rest going in the trash. So that's 2 strips. I need 4. 4 strips are the same. Hello there, kitty. Switch over just a little. And let me slide it. I just gotta slide it. So now I have 4 of those. Now I need 3 skinny strips. The ones in the first quilt finished at 2.5, but you may not have 2.5. So what you do is you measure how many inches you have left, just divide it by 3, and that will be your skinny center. You measure twice, cut once, because there'll be no room for forgiveness. And you know what, I'm going to adjust this a little because it was off a little. Now, I'm going to do something different with these 3. I am going to take them to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch them together right here, and then I'll open them in different spots. So here are my 4 strips. They're all identical. So these will go like this. These are now tubes. So I am going to snip them open somewhere so it'll be slightly different. This would be matching up perfect, but I'm going to flip it. Here is the flip. What do I want on the end? So if I open it, that will look like that. And I don't want these whites right next to each other, so I'm going to slide it down some. Just checking. Oh, now I got an orange touch. I don't want an orange touch. It may be difficult. There will be a gap between it, so I'm going to split it right here. So this is what I have now. Now I just got to do the other two. This is the right way. It matches. Now I'm going to flip it. All right, I'm going to open this one here. I mean, you can strip them all in the same spot if you want, but I'm trying something a little different. All right, I'm going to take this one off. I don't want this right there, so you know what I'm going to do? I'll just do that. All right, let me go sew that, and I'm going to put it on my design wall to help keep it in order, and then I'm going to add my sashing. So here's my strips. The big 8 inches ones all go the same direction. And then I flip those. And then the sashing, make sure you measure these strips, because if you have a perfect seam allowance, you'll need to cut it 40.5. Sometimes when you sew fast to do these strips or the jelly roll races, sometimes your seams come out a little bigger or smaller. Mine came out bigger, so I had to add a little inch. If you measure first, you won't have to go back and add a little bit. So now I'm going to sew all these together. When I sew these together, I want the strips to visually line up. I mean, they don't have to be perfect because they're not going to be on top of each other. I want it to be able to at least look like they're close. I'll flip this over, and I'm going to line up these 2 seams with that one and put a pin right there. Again, I'm not worried about perfection, just to an eyeball, so I'm going to skip 2 and then do the next one. This one's okay. I just slid it down a hair, and I'll put a pin in there. So this one was off. If I left it, eventually it wouldn't line up. So we'll slide it down and then pin it. And I'll just go down and do the same thing all the way down. This one's way off. I'm gonna have to fudge some stuff, so we'll make it work. To the sewing machine. So I added all the sashing. I added the top and the bottom as well, even though technically that's part of the inner border. So now I just need to add the sides to that border and then the outer border, and the top will be finished. Here's the top with borders and the piece backing. It took me about 42 minutes to piece the back. If you just use one seam or just one big piece of fabric, you can do it quicker. But I wanted to use it up these frogs. I've had them in my stash for a long time, over 20 years. I've used them in baby quilts and all kinds of stuff, and this is all that's left, so I'm putting it in this back. It's a pastel green, matches that on the front pretty much. Let's quilt it. For the quilting, I did a meander swirl that followed the strips. It's quick, and it keeps the quilt nice and soft for people to lay under. Next up was squaring it up and adding the binding and a label. So let's add up all the time. 13 minutes to cut everything out. 10 minutes to pick a layout, 30 minutes to sew and press the strips into a top, 9 minutes to cut the top into new strips, 3 minutes to put on the design wall, 4 minutes to trim sashing to the right size, 58 minutes to sew all the sashing, the strips, and the borders on, 42 minutes to quilt it, 38 minutes to make and sew on the binding and label, for a grand total of 3 hours and 33 minutes from start to finish. The quilt is a nice size, measuring in at about 52 by 60 inches, and makes a super cute gift you can sew up in a day. I hope you enjoyed seeing how fast this quilt came together. For more videos and tips, hit the subscribe button below and click on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Happy quilting!